Alright guys, somebody Gliscors here, bringing you the Week 4 team builder for Jazz and his Bristol City Bannettes. If you do remember this team, he was also in the FDL. He was not, well, he might have been a part of that, but I didn't face him. He was part of the UAPB that we did a while back. I'm sure if you've been a subscriber of mine for a while, you have seen that whole season go down. Pretty much we'll run through his team. He has Thunderous Eye, Cresselia, Crobat, Entei, Suicune, Chestnut, Flygon, Hitmonchan, Meowstic, Male, Miltank, and Mega Glalie. As we can see from the team, just his team in general, he does not have a single Fairy type, Steel type, or Dark type. And his he does have a Ground type, but it is obviously scared out by Mamoswine, because it loses to any sort of Ice Shard from Max Attack Mamoswine. So that might scare him out of bringing that, letting us Volt Switch on his entire team. So we're going to try to abuse that fact. Also, a lot of his team is weak to rocks, notably being Thunderous Eye, Crobat, Entei, and Mega Glalie, all taking 25% HP. Switching in from rocks, we can definitely use it to our advantage. Anyways, Thundy Eye is a fast prankster mon, also benefits from opposing Intimidates or Defogs if it is physical, because it gets a Defiant boost of +2 attack. It is the physical version of competitive. Cresselia is a bulky Coal Mine user. It gets Lunar Dance that can set up another mon. It's like Z Memento without the minusing the opponent's stats. It pretty much just, it's like Healing Wish, except it's just for Cresselia. And it sacrifices itself to heal somebody else in the back, which he could use to his advantage. Obviously, certain mons on his team can run through our team. Can be a sub-call mindset, of course, and toxic away our team. Definitely going to be something we have to be careful of. Next up is Crobat. We've used it in the UAPB. It's fast defogger, U-turner, special physical, bulky. It has a lot of potential sets. Could be Nasty Plot. Could have like HP Flying for Buzzwole, or just straight up Brave Bird. It has to be Max Attack Brave Bird to actually knock us out. Entei is a good Banded Scarf to Life Orb mon. Hits really hard with Sacred Fire. Has to be Adamant though if it uses the Sacred Fire, which we can try to use to our advantage if he's not Scarfed. And the Flare Blitz just hits a lot of our team, and we should get into how we're going to deal with it. He can also use E-Speed for priority, which might hurt our setup sweepers, like if we did have a Shell Smashing Amistar or something like that, like Focus Sash, and he could just chip us down once we use the Focus Sash. Next up we have bulky Coal Mine user in Suicune. It can spam Scald on our team, can use Protect, Rest, all those kind of sets that it gets. It really only needs Scald as its only move to kind of do damage to our team. He could also run HPS for Salamence, but I don't feel a need that he really needs it though. Next up is Chestnut. It's a Spikes mon. It's really bulky. It can hit really hard with Wood Hammer if it's banded. Gets Drain Punch for recovery. Can set up Leech Seed. We did have to face it in the UAPB when Ultra Player had it, and the thing was definitely a problem. Next up is Flygon. Can be Dragon Dance, Scarfed. Outspeeds my whole team with one Dragon Dance, and that just can be really threatening. And I didn't bring Mamoswine to beat it. Mamoswine's just kind of there to scare it out. Of course, Buzzwole does outspeed it with a Ice Punch, but it doesn't outspeed it if the Flygon gets to +1. Hitmonchan's a bulky spinner, also gets Iron Fences, has really good damage output, and a solid defensive typing, and only being Fighting type. Can Rapid Spin, Ice Punch, Mach Punch. It gets a whole bunch of stuff, and it just hits incredibly hard with like an Assault Vest or anything. To be honest, I've never seen Meowstic ever used, so I don't know what it really does, and I don't really see him bringing it. It could be like Calm Mind, I guess, defensive, Thunder Wave kind of stuff. I don't even. I'm gonna actually look real quick. Because at the time of recording this, I have no idea what. Okay, so it gets Prankster. So he's 2 Prankster mons. It gets Infiltrator. Alright, Toxic, Thunder Wave, Trick, Assist, Pure Psychic typing. I knew that, but I guess that's all it gets. It does have a female version, I believe, so I'm gonna check what that is. the female version. So yeah, it's not. He has the male version because it says M next to it. So yeah, that's what it does. It's just another prankster mon. So anyways, next up is Miltank. It can be Rock Setter. It's actually pretty fast with 328 max speed. It's a base 100 speed mon, and it's just incredibly bulky on the physical side. It can heal it with Mild Drink, spam Toxic, Thunder Wave, pretty much do whatever, and he just does a huge wall to our team. And then Mega Glalie can spam his own Ice Shards and have Refrigerate ability. Gets using Return and getting all those things. Although it was nerfed, it still can hit really hard. So yeah, let's get into what we brought to combat his team. He does have, excuse me, I brought Buzzball because it does outspeed everything with the Choice Scarf. It also, just hits really hard with his coverage. Ice Punch KOs Crobat and Thunderous Eye after the 25% chip, which is either prior damage or just damage from rocks. It also OKOs Flygon. Superpowers and OKO on Glalie, 2 KOs Miltank. I'm not really a fan of Superpower, but it's needed for good damage on Suicune and Entei. I could run Brick Break, it still ensures the KO on Miltank, but it, just, I don't know how I feel about it. If he runs way too much defense on Miltank, Brick Break would be a 3 KO. And I don't know, I guess Superpower is going to have to be what we can bear with, but I'm not a huge fan of it. Leech Life 2 KOs Crest, it also gives recovery, hits Meowstic and Chestnut for good enough damage. Depending on his spread on Meowstic, he can live 1 Leech Life if he EVs himself too. If not, we can OKO it, and it does give us some good recovery. So it might be smart to go like that to get recovery, but this, I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it like the way it is. We do have Stone Edge just in case if Ice Punch lacks the damage to KO things like the Thunderous Eye and the Crobat. And it also hits Entei for a 2 KO if it's not affected by rocks before it comes up. If we have rocks up and it takes the rocks damage, Stone Edge is an OKO and Glalie is knocked out in 1 hit. So next up is Mega Aggron. We are running max special defense. We don't really need defense. We're already having 230 base defense. We don't really need to add anything else into it. Stealth Rocks, of course, because like we've been talking about, Stealth Rocks just eat away at his team, and it's definitely going to be something we want. Roar is preventing all his Calm Minesweepers, like Cresselia, Suicune, Nasty Plotting Crobat, Dragon Dance Flygon, all things like that. Ice Punch is there to damage Flygon, and it also puts a hurting on Chestnut and maybe Thunderous Eye that wants to come in. Obviously Flygon, Hitmonchan, or Chestnut will be a solid counter to my Aggron. Hopefully our filter ability can be used to our advantage. Heavy Slam is just really good stab for his entire team. He doesn't really have a fairy, so we could have changed it for some other coverage move, but it does OKO, Mega Glalie, and just do good damage on anything that's switching in. Although we will probably use more Roar more often, just because Roar will let us get more rocks damage afflicted to everything. Especially if Crobat comes in, we can Roar it and he can't defog, because I believe that's his only form of hazard removal outside of Hitmonchan's Rapid Spin. So it's definitely going to be something we're going to try to use against him. Next up we have Rotom Heat. Let's try to get to him. There we go. Running a more bulky set, Pain Split for recovery. We are running max defense just so we can take hits from Entei better, because he can easily spam Sacred Fire and burn our entire team. Flare Blitz just does a huge amount of damage, and also having Rotom Heat on our team can also take on Flygon better, because of the ability Levitate. We can not be affected by the earthquakes. Pain Split is there for recovery. Don't have any other recovery ability or recovery move outside of the we have leftovers for recovery, of course, but we don't have any other recovery move outside of rest. So Pain Split's the next best thing. Volt Switch is good for momentum. Will-O-Wisp can Will-O-Wisp things like Glalie, Hitmonchan, maybe even Flygon, and just weaken other physical attackers that might go up against us. And it also lets us tank better, of course. And Overheat is to do really good damage against Chestnut and Glalie, and it just hits really hard on his frail mons like Crobat and Thunder Eye. So yeah, don't really need much special attack for us to do good damage with Overheat. and I feel like having max defense and having a 3 KO for Entei is just really good for weakening him down if he goes for the Flare Blitz, as I do expect it to be banded. If it's Life Orb, then he even takes even more damage. So we have to be careful though, because its Stone Edge does 1-hit KO us if he is choice banded. Next up though, we do have Espeon with enough speed to outspeed everything but Thundee Eye and Crobat. Specs just ensures that we 2-hit KO pretty much everything on his team. Shadow Ball 2-hit KOs Cresselia, Oko's Meowstic, and hits everything for neutral damage outside of Miltank, who is not affected by it because it's a normal type. He doesn't have a dark type, so we can easily spam Psychic on everything. Psychic hits Chestnut, Crobat, Hitmonchan for super effective damage, and like we said, we don't have a dark type, so he doesn't have a dark type, so we don't have to worry about switching up moves really that much. And HP fighting is there for Miltank or Glalie if really necessary. If it comes down to a one-on-one situation late game, we do have it there. And Trick is to force things because he does have a lot of bulky mons like Cresselia, Suicune, Chestnut, Hitmonchan, things that really don't like a choice specs. So we can give them the choice specs instead of being able to use like Wish, Toxic, and all those kind of things in the same turn. We can just force them to just spam Scald or just spam Drain Punch or do whatever, and it can definitely work in our favor if we don't really feel like we need the choice specs late or we're just really weakened. Also, our Magic Bounce ability will let us bounce back Leech Seeds and Toxics, because the Leech Seeds from Chestnut, Toxics from like Suicune, Cresselia, anything like that, and we can definitely take on better mons. Here's our next thing though. We do have Dragonium Z, because like we said, he doesn't have a fairy type, so dragon moves are easily spammed on his team. 12 speed lets us outspeed his entire team after 1 Dragon Dance. Adamant ensures the KO on Chestnut, Entei, and Thundee Eye. 144 HP is going to let us tank 1 HP Ice from Thundee Eye. It'll put us at 1 HP on the dot if we aren't affected by Rock's damage before. And we can also tank 1 Ice Shard, which will also put us at either 1 or 2 depending on the roll. Dragonium Z, like we said, there's no fairy types. Just hit anything really hard with the Z Dragonium Z. Well, Z Dragon Claw, and then get our attack boost. Dragon Dance, of course, for the setup. Dragon Claw hits everything for neutral damage. That just hits everything for neutral damage that we really need to. He doesn't have a steel type, so we don't have to worry about any resistances. EQ hits Entei better because a +1 Dragon Claw can't KO it, so we just EQ the Entei instead and get our attack boost. And then Aerial Aces for Chestnut, because Chestnut is 4 times weak to flying. That's what I was trying to say. Excuse me there. We could run Flanium Z, but all those other stuff aren't really necessary. Dragonium Z just does a lot of damage to pretty much everything, and if we really need it, we can just use it right off the bat. So hopefully having a lot more bulk will be able to be used in our advantage, and we won't be chipped away by Ice Shard or E-Speed and all those kind of priority abilities that he does get, because I don't think we get any sort of priority on our... Yeah, I don't see any priority. Anyways, next up we have Golbat. Different nickname this week because he has Crobat. So my bat is better because I'm a Golbat, and I feel like my Golbat will be better than his Crobat. We are running Max Speed F, so we can take on Thundee Eye better. We can also take on Entei a little bit better. I'm running Roost, Defog, U-Turn, just the standard for momentum, recovery, and to remove hazards. And then Toxic because his team is heavy fat, like Miltank, Chestnut, Crest, and Suicune, all those kind of things. So, you know, we just land him with the Toxic and they can ship themselves away. We can U-turn out on things like Crest with the Infiltrator if it does want to go behind a substitute. And we can definitely use this to our advantage. So if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you guys leave a thumbs up. The battle will be going up tomorrow. And yeah, I'm the Mighty Gliscor, the coach of your York Gliscors. Had to think if this was a IBA match. And I will catch you guys later. Peace.